Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our third weekly outlook. Before we get into this week, let's just actually see what happened last week. So got an alert prices there, but anyways, we'll come to that. If you can see, last week I said that as long as price maintains below this high, we can look for sales, right? Price formed a lower high, right? A lower high 2 weeks ago. And what actually happened was we maintained below this area. We maintained below this area, and you could have potentially looked for some sells. Why could you look for some sells? Because we saw a bearish engulfing on Monday, then we saw price come back up at the end of the day and reject, come back again and reject, come back again and reject. Multiple rejections. Therefore, you could have potentially had a tight stop loss above this area right here, above this high here, and look for sells to the downside. I did not manage to catch that because unfortunately I woke up a little bit late, so I missed my entry. However, we had a calm mind, a focused mind, so we waited for price to retest this area right here. We can see that price came into this area and we had a repulsive move to the upside. Price melted and absolutely reversed. I like these areas because this tells us there was huge selling pressure and buyers just came into the market. So there's a high probability there could be buying pressure and sellers can just come back in the market. There could be a similar reactive response in this area. And what we saw was we saw 2 4-hour rejections. This gave me leeway to actually look for an entry and sell to the downside into this area. If you can see here, we saw a 4-hour rejection. We saw another 4-hour rejection. This could give you chance to push to the upside. And as I said on the weekly outlook, we can look for price to melt in this area and pump up. And that's exactly what happened. Another very accurate weekly outlook. So I hope that did help many of you. And you did catch some trades. All right, cool. Let's have a look at I'm also adding GA to our weekly outlook, so we'll be focusing on these three pairs. So let's focus on Gbpjpy for right now. What can we see? We can see that on the weekly time frame, right? We rejected 165. We rejected 165. We left a huge wick to the upside. We also rejected 164. We rejected both twice. We left two huge wicks to the upside, and we can see price is overall bullish on the weekly time frame. We're still bullish on the weekly. We're still bullish on the daily. High, high, low, high, 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 low, high, 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 low. We're still bullish. However, we'll come to the however. We can see that the weekly closed above this previous structural point. This gives us indication to potentially start looking for buys. But I am very wary this week because we could definitely just melt, or we could reject this area and push to the upside. I don't really have a finger on my bias right now, but what I can say is that weekly rejected this area, right? We're overall bullish on all three time frames, weekly, daily, and the 4-hour time frame, because we broke these highs here. But we can see potentially we may be shifting to a bearish structure on the 4-hour, but on the weekly and daily we are bullish overall in terms of structure. We can see that the weekly is maintaining above this high and we're rejecting, so maybe we can see another rejection and look for buys into 164. However, what can we see on the weekly time frame? We can see there's a huge wick left to the upside. We can see there's a lower high on the weekly time frame. We can also see there's a lower low and lower low. So there's a potentiality price can absolutely leak down into 159.500. On the daily time frame, we can see we left a huge wick to the upside and we rolled over around a good from 164 to 161, right? And then we pumped back. We left a huge another wick to the upside. So these two wicks are putting me off buyers, right? Because this is telling us that buying pressure is being reduced to the upside. We also had a bearish engulfing on the weekly time frame, but a lower high, lower low. But there's no way I am selling when we're above this area here. For me to look for sells, I need price to have a 4-hour closure below, a retracement into this area, maintain below this area and give us some rejections. And I'll be looking for sells down into 159.500. And if we break that area, I'll wait for a retracement here and look for sells down into 157.500, or to be specific, 157.786. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. So just to give indication, I'll be looking for sells here. If we break and retest, I'll be looking for sells down into here. If we maintain above this area and we see some rejections, I will buy GBP, JPY back up into this area and potentially look for another sell to the downside. Why? Because if price comes to this area, we can see the daily will now be bearish, the 4-hour will be bearish. So overall, I can catch them in between moves. The reason I do this is because I like GBP, JPY. I'm very used to this pair, very experienced with this pair. Um, Again, I can't predict all these moves. I'm just saying what I would do if this happens. Maybe this may not happen. Maybe we may just melt straight down. Maybe we'll just consolidate and be very wicky. We don't know, but I'm just telling you my hypothesis for the future, and let's see if that happens or not. So sells here, break, retest, potential sells here. If we can maintain below this area, would I look for sells? I'll be very conservative here because this is not a key area, to be honest. This is more of a key area, so I'll look for sells here. If we maintain above this area for a prolonged period of time on the 4-hour time frame and the 30-minute time frame, I will look for buys into 164. So that's what I'm doing with GBP JPY. Let's see what happens. Regarding gold, we can see that the weekly time frame, we retraced into this area right here where there was previous wick rejections. Price came into this area, gave us a huge bullish engulfing, and we saw another retracement back into this area. As I said on my last weekly outlook, I am looking for buys here. I said I'm looking for buys here. So it was Friday. So obviously I did my weekly outlook on Monday. I said we want price to come here and push up. We did not get that, right? We did not get that. We did not get that. You can see there was no clean entry here on the 4-hour time frame. There wasn't a good rejection in this zone, right? There was this wick here, but it wasn't really in the zone where I would like it to be. I wouldn't really want to be entering up here because my stop loss will be quite wide. We can see that, all right, cool. If price doesn't reject here, we can see price potentially reject here. Why? Because the daily has broken structure, so we can potentially see a high low being formed here before price can pump into 1867 area. And that's exactly what happened. We saw a daily rejection. We saw a nice 4-hour rejection. You could have put your stops here and look for buys to the upside. Now what we're looking for, we're still bullish overall, right? We can see. But you see what happens is you should follow your bias because, of course, there's a higher probability of making entries. But with pairs like gold, GBP, JPY, and GBP AUD, they move very quickly. They're not slow like USD CAD and etc. So even though you're bearish, you can sometimes catch the intraday moves, intra-week moves, and that's what we like to do. But generally, our focus is focusing on the higher time frame bias. Overall, we are bullish on the weekly, clearly bullish on the daily, forming higher highs. I am predicting a potential higher high here, and price melting down into 1855 or 1843. My thesis is 1843. I believe there'll be a bigger pullback before price can pump into 1950. Why am I looking for? Why can I potentially look for sells here? Let's go on the weekly time frame. We can clearly see when price came into this area, we absolutely rolled over. When price came into this area, we absolutely rolled over. When price broke below this area, we left a wick into this zone and we rolled to the downside. So there's a high probability if we have 4-hour rejections, daily rejections, we can look for a sell. I'm not looking for a huge sell like this or like this because we are bullish. So I will look for a you could say half the move, not a big move. Remember something, if you're taking an intraday, intra-week trade, trade the take profit like an intra-week, intraday trade. You have to treat the TP the exact same way. And so maybe we can wait for that to happen. In terms of buys, overall, I am looking for buys and I would prefer to look for buys. I can look for buys here or here. I'm leaning towards looking for buys here. I believe there'll be a bigger retracement. And if we see 4-hour rejections, maybe we may see huge wicks in this zone because previously there was huge wicks. And I can look for buys here as my take profit 1. And if price breaks and retests this area, we can look for price to come into 1910 as our next support and resistance area. If price can break that area, we can look for buys into there. I don't think this will all happen in 1 week. I think we will see something like this maybe, potentially, and then, or we may just maintain in this area here. Let's see the weekly time frame. Yeah, we could potentially see another wick to the downside and a pump up, or we may just maintain in this zone. Either way, we are looking for sells here, buys here or here. We shall see what happens. If I was to give you my overall go-to trade, pull back, buy, TP1, TP2 into one of these areas here. Let's see what happens. In regards to GBP, GBP AUD, I am only looking for buys simply because we can see a huge bullish momentum to the upside, right? Huge bullish momentum. We closed below, above all this area, we've entered away from, we're past this area, and it would be ridiculous for me to look for sells here. It doesn't make no sense. Even here, because we could clearly easily just break through with this huge bullish momentum. The weekly's bullish, the daily's bullish, the 4 hours bullish. Absolutely not. I'm only looking for buys. Now the question is, what is the highest probability area for me that I think price can reject off and push to the upside? For me, it's this weekly support area here and resistance area here. We can clearly see at 181318 price retraced into this area and absolutely pumped into 1.9, 1.9, 1.918. So what I want is, yep, even look, I don't really like going this back, to be honest. This is too far, but yeah, you can even see here price just absolutely pumped. But we like recent PA. So what I want is the daily to retrace for me. I would not want the daily to retrace here, but I'm not going to look for buys because I don't, that could happen, but I'm looking for a bigger retracement into here and for price to push to the upside. Maybe we can see price reject this area and push down from here, and then we can look for buys back up. But I'm not going to be looking for sells here simply because we are bullish. That's a quick breakdown for you guys and girls. So thank you very much. I'm whispering because my family's sleeping, so I'm keeping it very short and quick. And thank you very much.